I love cooking and I love teaching people how to cook. I've been doing both for 30 years. To cook well, it helps if you love and value food, as that is where it all starts. My approach to cooking is simple and not new. Use the best ingredients you can, get organised and follow the recipe. That way, you'll be sure to get wonderful results. The term broth can have negative connotations. Images of watery vegetable stock certainly spring to mind. I love how a simple broth can, with the addition of carefully chosen ingredients, be transformed into a most elegant dish that combines both humbleness and sophistication. My pumpkin, tomato, leek and fennel broth has chicken stock as a key ingredient, although of course you could use vegetable stock. Either way, the quality of the stock will determine how delicious the broth tastes. Pumpkin's a wonderful vegetable, and it's a big family. There are loads and loads of different types, different shapes, different sizes, and the one I like to cook with most is this one, called red curry, or Japanese pumpkin. Also, uchichi curry, strictly speaking, is the name for it. Okay, I've got some already here that I've peeled the tough skin, the outer skin off, and I'm just going to go ahead and chop it. And you can see that it needs quite forceful chopping. So the other ingredients here, I've got my fennel seeds, which I've toasted just on a dry frying pan for 3 or 4 minutes until the aroma starts to rise up out of the pan, and then I ground them coarsely. The next ingredient is garlic. Pop it onto my work surface like that. Just with the back of your knife, skin still on, press it. And then you should be able to peel off the papery skin quite easily. Add a little salt for grip. Give it a quick chop, and then with the heel of your hand placed over the flat of the blade, crush the garlic. The reason you crush the garlic is so that it melts invisibly into the dish. See the way it just blends down to a beautiful paste like that. So are the first 3 ingredients ready to go? Pumpkin, fennel seeds, garlic. So because we're sweating, we're going to need a fairly low heat, at least when we get it going. A nice heavy bottom saucepan. Olive oil is the fat of choice here. You could use butter if you want to, but olive oil pairs very, very nicely with these vegetables. Pop in the first of our vegetables. That's our diced peeled pumpkin, my lovely crushed garlic paste, and the fennel seeds. Give those a stir. Get them coated in the oil. That's really important. Don't leave them just sitting there dry. Whenever you're sweating, it's this business of a low heat to create a steamy atmosphere. So a little bit of extra insulation in the form of butter wrapper, bit of parchment paper or greaseproof paper lid is really a good idea. It sounds really old-fashioned, like an old wives' tale, but it really, really works. While that's sweating, the rest of my vegetables. So I have my leeks prepared, and they're just thinly sliced, and I've given those a good rinse, okay? Potatoes I need to dice. And this is a rustic soup, so I'm cutting the vegetables reasonably big. The other vital ingredient in this soup is tomato. Now, depending on what time of the year it is and how ripe the fresh tomatoes are available to you, that will determine which tomatoes you choose to use. So I only use fresh tomatoes for this soup if they are super bursting ripe. And failing that, I will use tinned tomatoes unapologetically. Tinned or bottled tomatoes can be a fantastic product because they're picked when they're at their prime, and canned, tinned, bottled to hold in the flavour. Our pumpkin has been sweating away, so by now it should be nice and tender. Next comes the easy part. Just throw everything in: tomatoes, potatoes and leeks. Season with salt and pepper. That's going to cook for another few minutes, but there's plenty more to be done. Now I'm going to make some parsley pesto to serve with the broth. So food processor is ideal for this. So I'll pop in the parsley. It looks like too much parsley to begin with, but it blends down to a lovely green richness. Add some pine nuts, just like that. A little of our crushed garlic. Spoon that out. Just crush to our paste in the normal way. Season with salt and then blitz. Now carefully add your olive oil, extra virgin olive oil ideally. Keep pouring until you've achieved the desired consistency. Okay, let's have a look how that is. So see the consistency I'm looking for. Just a sort of a dropping consistency. Now, the beauty about parsley pesto is it keeps really, really well. It will keep in your fridge for a month with none of the crankiness of the basil pesto. Finally, the Parmesan. You can fold in the Parmesan, or I just very quickly sort of buzz it in with my machine. Okay. That's going to be really, really nice, a little blob of that in on top of the broth. So speaking of the broth, let's just see if we are ready to add in our stock, which I think we should be by now. Okay, so our vegetables have been sweating, and see that lovely steam that comes out of there. It's a sign that you've trapped the steam in the pot. Just slowly softening, just very, very slightly. I'm going to add in my stock. You could make this with water or vegetable stock if you want, but chicken stock, without doubt, is what's going to give you the most flavoursome broth. Also, because we have tomatoes, the tiniest little pinch of sugar. Lid back on, up to a simmer, and then simmer it very gently. So it's going to take about 15, 20 minutes, and as soon as they're tender, that's ready to go. So I'd be happy to have this on a warm autumn evening or on a chilly winter's day when the wind is howling outside. Just like that, perfect. Or with a little blob of our parsley pesto, like that. Lovely, really nourishing, delicious, simple, nice. Bacon and cabbage, 3 words that inspire dread or desire, depending on previous experience. Let's face it, we've probably all eaten a tough piece of bacon and horribly overcooked cabbage. But trust me, cooked properly, this is a superb dish, particularly so when highly flavoured champ and verdant, vibrant parsley sauce are served alongside. It's time to restore what is probably regarded as our national dish to its proper place, something to be really proud of. As always, use the best ingredients you can and ensure that the bacon you buy is quality assured Irish bacon and not some imposter. The provenance of what we eat is really important. I'm using a piece of loin of bacon today, green bacon, as unsmoked bacon is curiously called in Ireland. And when I'm buying a piece of bacon, I like to make sure there's a nice bit of fat on. And I also personally prefer it when the rind has been left on. That's a really lovely piece of bacon. I don't soak this overnight in cold water. I just put it into a saucepan where it's covered with cold water. So that's it, cold water, no salt, and pop it on. We're going to leave that to boil for about 10 minutes with the lid on. Okay, that is that. Now, one of the nicest things, I think, to have with a piece of boiled bacon is some sort of mashed potato. So, I've got my potatoes in here. I like to cook the potatoes in their skins. So, cold water, a good pinch of salt, and on the heat, and bring them up to the boil. Great, that's those. So, I can go ahead and make my parsley sauce. So, what I've done to start this off with, because we're going to make a little bit of roux with some butter and flour, and that's going to thicken the sauce. And obviously we're going to need milk. So what I like to do is to just infuse the milk with a little onion and carrot and thyme and bay leaf. I mean, you don't have to do this, but it brings an extra little layer of flavour, which just adds extra to the sauce. So we start off by just melting the butter in a saucepan, and then we're going to add the flour. And I'm going to cook this on a gentle heat for about 3 minutes because I want to make sure that the raw taste has been removed from the flour and that the sauce won't taste floury at the end. So add in the flour and then stir it in. And this is a classic French roux and is used for thickening savoury sauces. So mix it in. That's looking exactly the way I expect it to look. Add in my milk. Strain out those vegetables. Whoops, try not to make a mess. Remove the wooden spoon and replace it with a whisk. The whisk is far more effective at breaking down the lumps than the wooden spoon. So nothing happens for a moment or two here. We need to bring it to the boil. And not until it comes to a boil will it thicken to its full potential. So the ratio of flour and butter to milk is really important because that's what's going to give us a sauce that's neither too thin nor too thick. So that's lovely. It's just thickened up nicely, so it's not too thick because you don't want it sort of stodgy. So I'm going to pull that off the heat, And traditional parsley sauce would be just that, with lots and lots of chopped parsley. I'm just going to put a little bit of mustard and cheddar cheese in. I'm using creamy mustard here, but you can use powdered mustard if you prefer. Next, add some freshly grated cheddar cheese. So give it a good, brisk whisk like that. Okay, that's really lovely. It's really shiny, and I'm happy with the consistency of that. I mean, let's face it, parsley sauce, if it's too thick, if it's lumpy, if it's not served nice and hot, can be fairly torturous. But when it's smooth, creamy in consistency, full of parsley, full of flavour, it's a really fantastic, timeless thing. The mustard and cheese contain plenty of salt, so I'm just going to season it with some black pepper. Now, I'm not going to put the parsley into this until just before I'm going to serve it, because then the parsley will be vibrant in colour and vibrant in flavour. There's a lot going on here, and there's more to come. After the break, we're going to cook the cabbage, prepare the creamy mustard mash, and serve up the bacon. And to follow this classic Irish dish, we'll leave these shores and create an exotic dessert from the Middle East. Our lovely loin of Irish bacon is cooking away. The parsley sauce is almost ready, and our potatoes are on boiling. Now, the perfect vegetable to serve with this is cabbage, and it's such an undervalued vegetable, I think. I love as many of the dark outside leaves as possible, along with the more blanched inner leaves. So, start off by just removing the darker outside leaves. Just chop them off at the base there. I think it tastes best when it's a combination of the dark and the white. Okay, that's that. We'll remove the stalks from those in a moment. Then quarter the cabbage, and that fantastic sound you get when you do that. So you've got quarters. Now, cut out that hard core, because that does not make good eating. That will go. With cabbage, you should always cut against the grain. This ensures that it will be finely chopped and you won't get any big pieces of stalk. Okay, I think that's going to be plenty for us to go with our bacon and our lovely mustardy mashed potatoes today. However, let's not forget the lovely dark outer leaves. So what I like to do is to cut out the thick rib, because again, that's tough when it's cooked. As many of these as possible, and then you get that balance of the blanched inner heart and the darker outer leaves, and that's when cabbage tastes best. Rinse the cabbage under the cold tap, strain it and set it aside. Your cabbage is the very last thing to be cooked. Once your bacon has come to the boil, a somewhat unsightly foam rises to the surface. At this point, discard the cooking water and replace it with fresh, cold water. Now return to the heat and continue to boil until it is fully cooked. The time it takes will depend upon the size of the loin. Okay, so the potatoes are cooked and ready for peeling, so my knife pierced through them, no resistance whatsoever. Now, before I start to peel the potatoes, I've just put, this very moment, my scallions and my milk onto heat. Because, as you'll see, when I peel and mash the potatoes, I want to put in boiling milk. That's really, really important. If you put cold milk in, you're likely to get a gluey mash. I've got some potatoes which have been boiled in their skins. Boiling them in their skins helps to keep in the flavour. Once peeled, I pass them through my vegetable moulie, or ricer as it's sometimes called. This makes sure there will be absolutely no lumps in the mash. Okay, that's all my potato pushed through. It's like a little mini workout, as well as making something that's going to be good to eat. So scrape all of that off there, not to lose a bit. And I've got this lovely sort of, still steaming hot, just sort of like nearly like potato vermicelli. Okay, I need to immediately get my boiling milk in here. So pour in slightly less than you think, and get in as much of that lovely green scallion as you can. Add your milk gradually. You don't want to add it all at once and end up with a potato soup. Add a good knob of butter and season to taste. So that's basically a lovely soft scallion champ, and I love it when it's that soft and that comforting. But I'm just going to put a little bit of mustard in today, which is going to pair brilliantly with the bacon. Careful here, it's hot stuff, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon, and fold that in. Get it well mixed in. And that's perfect, really, really lovely. That'll be great with the bacon. With about 5 minutes to go, transfer the cabbage into a large pot of boiling water. Season with salt and leave it to cook for about 5 minutes. As soon as it is ready, transfer it into a serving dish. Lastly, add the parsley to the sauce and it's ready to serve. What I like to do before I serve it is to just cut off a little of the rind, like that. And it's so easy then, it's just a matter of carving straight down, no bones or anything in your way. This would be lovely to eat at any time of the year, the sort of food I like to eat all year round. But it would be great to have something like this on St. Patrick's Day, gather your friends around and celebrate some of the best things about Irish food. Cakes are a joy, or at least they should be. It's a pity that some cake is forgettable when made with inferior ingredients, sometimes left sitting in a chilly fridge, which yields a brute of a thing. But well made, with good ingredients, cakes do what they are intended to do, which is to give pleasure. The yogurt and lemon cake I'm going to make can be served as a dessert, and it's particularly good when something as full of flavour as a salad of dates and oranges, which reflects its Middle Eastern origin, is served alongside. So I've got my egg yolks in here in a bowl, and I'm going to add in my caster sugar and just a little vanilla extract. And I'm going to beat these up to quite a stiff mousse. It doesn't take very long, but this is sort of the base of the cake. Whisk the mixture until it's a thick mousse-like consistency like this. Add some flour. It's worth sieving it to get extra lightness. And I've got my yogurt. It's a lovely, thick, Greek-style yogurt here. So pop this in. So there's sort of a sweet, sour flavour from this cake. Lemon zest. You could replace the lemon with orange. I don't see why grapefruit zest from a lovely sort of pink grapefruit wouldn't be lovely. Now the juice. Use my flour sieve to catch the pips. So just fold the ingredients together nice and lightly. So cutting down through the middle of the bowl like that, folding over, a little quarter turn or 90-degree turn. You see the way it's starting to look like a batter. Anything I haven't folded in properly already will be folded in when I add in the rest of the egg white. My egg white, perfect like that. So sort of soft and wobbly, but at the same time stiff. So I'm going to plop in a little like that first to start me off. And just, I stir that in with reasonable care. So the first portion of egg white prepares the mixture for the arrival of the bulk of it. Pop this in. So you've got a lovely foam of egg white. The reason, of course, why this cake doesn't hold its shape and height when it rises is because there's very, very little flour in the cake, proportionate to other ingredients. What you don't want is to end up with any little bits of egg white which haven't been cloaked by the mousse, because that traps in the flavour. And egg white just cooked on its own just tastes sort of rubbery, honestly. It doesn't taste good at all. That's really nice. And then we just pop the whole thing nice and gently in there like that, scraping everything out so as not to lose any at all. Okay, that goes into our preheated oven. We need to cook this for about 45 to 50 minutes at 180 degrees centigrade. So my cake is out of the oven. It falls slightly as I predicted, and as always happens with this cake. It's a very simple looking thing, but with a beautiful texture. Now, so I'm going to make a little salad of oranges and dates and mint to go with this, and this makes an absolutely perfect accompaniment. So I've got some lovely oranges which I've begun to segment, but I need to add more oranges to that and a few more bits and pieces. So nice, bright, shiny oranges. Again, if blood oranges are in season, feel free to add some of those. To start off with, I want to add some of the zest to my segmented oranges. The zest is where the intensity of flavour is going to come from. Halve your orange and squeeze in the juice. Use a sieve to catch the pips. To segment the orange, begin by slicing off both ends so the flesh is just visible. Using a sharp knife, cut along the white line of the pith, making sure you don't leave any of that pith attached to the flesh. Saw your knife up and down all the way along until all of the rind and the pith have been removed. If you've missed any bits, just cut them off at the end. Now get the individual segments out. The first one is always the trickiest. Make a cut along both of the inner sides of the segment and it should slide out with ease. After the first one is removed, cut in towards the centre of the orange and then just push. Each section should come away cleanly. It's that simple. Cut and push. Once all of the pieces are removed, squeeze what's left behind to extract the very last drop of juice. Now the other ingredients I need to put in here, I've got a little orange blossom water, and this adds a lovely scent to the oranges, and again, it sort of transports you to a different part of the world. Be careful with these scented waters like orange blossom water or rose blossom water. Too much and you don't know whether you're eating something or having a bath, okay? The other thing I want to put in here are lovely dates. These are lovely, fat Majoule dates. There are lots of different varieties of dates, like there are lots of different varieties of potatoes and tomatoes. And these Majoule dates are really beautiful and meaty, really delicious and quite sweet. So just cut around the date like that and just prise it apart and then just discard the stone. And we pop some of those in there. And I've got a few more of those here, which I had all ready to go. Add sugar if necessary. The amount will depend on the sweetness of the oranges. Now chop up some mint leaves and scatter them into the bowl. Okay, so a gentle little turn like that. And it's starting to look really lovely at this stage. The lovely vibrant green, the colour of the orange, and the lovely mahogany colour of the dates. So into a nice serving dish, I usually like to just slide it in like that. We might do a little more arranging in a moment, but that's pretty much that. The final thing that I like to do then is to just dust the yogurt cake with a little icing sugar. We'll have the balance of the citrus fruit and the meaty, juicy dates with the lovely texture of the cake. Really, really super sweet.